Hello, my name is Anant Prakash. I'm a managing director at Macquarie Group within our specialized and asset finance team. I lead our efforts within EMEA region to set up a business in mobility, focusing on financing the transition to zero emission vehicles. Today, I'm going to talk about switching to electric vehicles in light of the UK government's announcement to ban the sale of internal combustion engine cars and vans beyond 2030. A little bit of introduction about the Macquarie Group. Macquarie is a global diversified financial group providing clients with asset management and finance, banking, advisory, and risk and capital solutions across debt, equity, and commodities markets. Macquarie is truly global, and it employs over 16,000 people in 32 markets and has over $400 billion of assets under management. It has a strong funding and capital position and an outcome-focused culture expressed by opportunity, integrity, and accountability in everything we do. Switching to zero emission vehicles is a transition. Let's look at what this transition involves. In 2020, over 98% of the cars in UK were either petrol or diesel, with about 1.2% of cars being registered as either battery electric or plug-in hybrid electric. This is very early days for the transition. However, the transition is underway with more and more new car registrations coming in as battery electric. In 2020, just shy of under 7% of new car registrations were battery electric. This has grown over fourfold from the year before. And as recently as 2018, less than 1% of new car registrations were battery electric. In buses, there are over 30,000 buses in England, out of which only 2% are currently battery electric. And there's only a handful of hydrogen buses currently in the bus fleet in England. This is the starting point. The government has already announced the end state. In 2030, the sale of new petrol and diesel cars and vans will come to an end. And then in 2035, only fully zero emission vehicles will be sold. A consultation is undergoing right now for setting a date for ending the diesel sales in buses, but the CPT has already announced its commitment. From 2025, it'll only purchase ultra-low emission or zero emission buses. This end state is ambitious, and this is a complex transition. There are multiple parties that play a role in transitioning to electric. The internal combustion ecosystem, from the supply of fuel to the distribution network to maintenance and fleet management, all of that has been established for decades. Switching to electric requires a complex ecosystem comprising of multiple players and parties to come together. At the very upstream end, a preferable end state is that zero emission vehicles are supplied with green energy, and utilities, developers, and green energy companies are working on the transition to renewables. To get this transition to work at the endpoint, grid upgrades may be needed, and power networks, DNOs, and engineering companies need to play a part. Sometimes this may need to be bolstered by battery storage, and so there's a role for battery manufacturers and installers to play a role there as well. And finally, at the consumer end, if it's a fleet depot, the depot itself may need to be converted and upgraded to enable charging for the electric vehicles that it services. EV chargers may need to be supplied and installed depending on the fleet's needs. And at every stage of this transition, there is a potential role for the financier to offer innovative and specialized solutions to enable this transition to happen. This is where we believe an end-to-end solution is important because it brings together various aspects and moving parts within the ecosystem. Our vision is to offer an end-to-end zero carbon solution for businesses, corporates, municipalities, and transit authorities. We are actively building the partnerships to service this sector. An end-to-end solution requires a zero emission vehicle, a bus for bus fleets, commercial vehicles for commercial fleets, which comes complete with a maintenance package supplied by the OEM. There may be the need to finance the battery or fuel cells separately from the vehicle or chassis and include the terms for midlife replacement. This solution would need to supply the renewable energy to the depot, and it should also take care of depot upgrades and charging infrastructure that needs to be installed at the depot. And if needed, we can work on carbon offsets for the existing fleet so that whilst the transition is ongoing, the fleet can benefit from carbon offsets to zero emission vehicles. So in summary, a transition to zero emission vehicles is a transition that is enabled by Macquarie. We believe that a financial partner should play a role across the entire value chain and not just in lease and RV solutions. We aim to provide and add value at every stage of this transition, from infrastructure to the supply of energy to the supply of bespoke equipment needed for the transition to happen, and of course the vehicle, the zero emission vehicle itself. The Macquarie difference is full life cycle participation, providing development equity, asset RV equity, market access, or access to concessional capital as applicable, and much more. I look forward to your questions and comments. Thank you very much.